Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for coming along. Hope you had a restful night. We're drifting. We are drifting. We are drifting. No, I can't sing for peanuts. That might not be a good idea. This presentation was sent through initially to head office as Vibrant Traditions - Rites of Passage. We've been asked to prepare some more talks for later on, and so what I've done is I've taken the Rites of Passage bit off this presentation and popped it into another one, and I've added a couple of bits on the end of this one to bring you up to speed with some of the things that we've talked about earlier as to what is actually happening in Papua New Guinea in different areas. So we've done a little bit of manipulating of the presentation. So we hope that you enjoy it. When we made our initial presentation, the joint presentation, and then Morag followed on with her our first trip out to a village when we jumped into the canoe and paddled off, and she showed you a picture of a guy with a big headdress on, this particular headdress. I'm going to expand on what happened there. This headdress on the left-hand side is pretty close to 20 feet tall. There is a man underneath it. There's a couple of guys helping him on with the headdress. And there's a young lad right up the top of the pole there, a little platform that's keeping it steady on his, whilst they fit the guy up with it. Now, that headdress is this one here on the right, before he put it on. And as you can see, it's completely decorated with everything that you can conceivably think of. The shells, feathers, betel nut, seeds, whole variety of things. There's dog's teeth, there's you name it, it's in there. And in this particular village, all the headdresses it's secret men's business. So they're in the men's hut. No women are allowed into the hut at all, except for the likes of Morag and other Western visitors. They can go in and have a look. But in this hut and in this little compound, all the secret and sacred stuff is kept in there. And they had another two similar headdresses there. As you can see, really, they've got an awful lot of boiled chickens in this particular place because they get plucked on a regular basis. But there's birds of paradise, cockatoo feathers, and a whole pile of other bits and pieces. But the carving, the facial, the mask and the carving, that long elongated nose is in this particular area, is a phallic symbol. So all their mask carvings have got these long elongated noses. This one on the right here has got some possum skin in it. And they're really, really proud of these decorations. And as this is an image that Morag showed you before, the guy in the headdress had to come in and he had to leap over two women that had prostrated themselves in front of him there. So that was his task, was to leap over that, and that was the beginning of the ceremony. But inside the men's hut, these two guys were playing bamboo flutes. Now, there's only one hole in these bamboo flutes, and it's all controlled by the air pressure that they're blowing into the bamboo pole, the tune that they play. And these guys will sit there and blow on these bamboo flutes for 3, 4, 5 hours constantly. And it's about 3 notes that they get out of it. And they either pick up the speed or drop it down or whatever, depending on what the message that they want to get through. But we were told when we got there that the ceremony that they had was something like a harvest festival. Their equivalent that they've been doing for thousands and thousands of years. So I had this special little hut built, and I've got these decorations again with these masks and shells, but inside there you can see there's bananas, there's taro, yams, sago, a whole pile of other bits and pieces. No pigs or chickens, but it's everything that they can grow. You can see the size of the banana hands down here on the right. So that was this whole purpose of this particular ceremony that they went through. But when we're in this particular area, they had a major festival, and they called in the tribes from different areas. As I said to you before, 850 different languages. So there's 850 different cultures. Consequently, there are 850 different forms of dress. It's not all the same. And so this is one of the coastal tribes that's come in. And you can see how intricate and ornate this face mask is as part of his dress up. Now, across his face, the tiny little white shells that are there, they're called giri giri, which just means small shell. And the way they actually collect those is quite amazing. What they do is they'll cut a very large branch from a tree, which has got lots and lots of leaves on it, and they drag it in their canoes out to maybe 20 or 30 foot of water, and they'll tie some big boulders onto this branch and sink the branch just offshore. Not anywhere near the reef, but offshore. And perfectly clear water, nothing else around. And the reason they do that is that these little shellfish suddenly think, oh, a new home. There's a new reef suddenly being created. So all these little shells leave wherever they are and attach themselves to the leaves on this tree and create their new colony on this tree. So they leave them out there for 6 months or so, and then they paddle back out, dive down, cut the rope on the rock, up pops the branch, they paddle back to shore, and then they just strip all these tiny little shells off the leaves, pop them in a cooking pot and have a really nice fresh fish soup, and then collect all the shells for their decorations. Then on the forehead of the mask, you can see there, they're dog's teeth, hundreds of dog's teeth. Now they haven't got a whole lot of dogs running around gumming you. It's part of the trade. That the big cowrie shell that we showed you on the breastplate and the huli wigmen, how did they get that from the coast? Well, it was traded from the coast up into the highlands. What do they have to trade back down to the coast that they have few of on the coast? Dog's teeth and pig's teeth. So that's the trade. So all of these dog's teeth that they've got here weren't from dogs from their local area, they were from up in the highlands. And up in the highlands, they've got the population in the highlands is probably 20 times more than on the coast, so consequently they've got a lot more dogs. And when a dog dies, they actually, when they take the teeth out of the skull, they actually drill a hole in the end of it, and that's part of the trading. They don't send the teeth down to the coast without a hole drilled in it. It's all part of the value adding of their trading items. So that's on this. These dancers here are all men, but from another village, these dancers are all women. And as you can see, how many dogs' teeth are in there? They've got these on the far left here. You've got this attachment to the back of them, and it's all dog's teeth that have been sewn onto that on the head. And they actually wear like a tapa cloth is made from the bark of a tree. You get a tree, a particular type of tree, take the bark off and you beat it. You beat it really, really thinly so it turns into very fine paper. And these women have got face masks on. They look like mutant ninja turtles there with their face masks on. And that's made from tapa cloth. So it's unusual to just have a dance simply with women in it. Men and women, yes, men only, but women by themselves, quite rare. This is another dance where there are men and women together. And the reason I've put this shot in here is to explain about these dresses, the grass skirts that they're wearing. Papua New Guinea has all these 850 languages, and none of them are written. They never invented the wheel. There's a whole variety of things that never happened in the 70,000 years that that island has been populated. So lots and lots of other things have developed. And one of the ways that developed was to be able to indicate to somebody who was a stranger, basically the life story of somebody when they can just see them visually, it tells a picture. And this lady here, she's actually had 7 children, because her grass skirt has got 7 layers to it. It's being trimmed off. So each time she has a child, they trim another bit off. So you can be walking in a village, you can see a woman with just a plain grass skirt on, and you know that she's probably an unmarried young girl. And then when she gets married and has her first child, they cut a piece off. Another child, cut off. So there, she's had 7 kids, this particular woman. And this is another men-only dance, but this is the turtle mating dance. Now, I noticed on the television in the cabin, there was a big blue documentary or whatever, and it showed you the turtles mating and laying eggs and everything else. Well, this particular tribe, the turtle is their totem, so they do a dance that relates to that. And you can see on the right-hand image, the young boys are actually on the shoulders of the men. This is portraying the mating of the turtles. And if you watch the video, or if you know anything about turtle mating, when a male and a female turtle get together, they stay locked together for anywhere up to 2 or 3 days. They have to for the egg production in the female turtle is quite amazing. I was on a patrol once, and on that coral, MV Coral, we went out to a very large island which has got a huge, huge turtle hatchery. Thousands of turtles every year come in, and we just happened to go across when there was a male and a female turtle making whoopee, and they have to come to the surface to breathe, obviously. And when the boat's crew saw this, they leapt in the water and grabbed the turtle, dislodged the male and hung on to the female. It was a real task. They eventually got this female turtle into the dinghy. We took it back to the mainland, and they killed it and opened it up to cook it and eat it. And the inside of a female turtle is an incredible production line. You can actually see a big mass of egg yolk, and then it channels down, and eventually they form eggs. So as the turtle is laying eggs, when you see them laying eggs in the sand, she's actually producing more eggs as it's coming through. So those eggs are very fresh when she's actually laying them. They're not all just sitting inside her waiting to come out. She's producing them as she's laying them. That's just an aside to this. But on the coast, we have the odd celebration, and this is, they tried, and it's getting back there, that every Friday they would have cultural day in the schools, and all the mums and dads would come into from the villages and to actually teach the kids their culture. And this is a whole variety of tribes, and you can see the differences mainly in the headdresses. As I say, it's telling a picture of the tribe. These two are teachers from the school, and they are actually from Rabaul, and they're doing what's called a duk-duk dance. And this dance is unique to the Rabaul area, and you see him dancing up and down, and he's got a stick off the top of his head, and he's moving that around, and as he whips it, it makes a lot of noise. But these headdresses that they've got, as we move on, I'll show you how they change from tribe to tribe. Because what happens is that a tribe will have this type of headdress decoration, and a woman will marry out to another tribe. So she actually takes a little bit of her culture with her when she goes to the next tribe next door. And then when they get together and they're having their ceremonies and dances, she might say, oh, what about if you add this? Or my tribe does that. And so they adopt these tiny little bits of each other's cultures and keep the whole thing maturing. Most of the Papua New Guineans can speak up to 8 languages. So that's, and they're not dialects, they're totally separate languages. But you note that headdress there. This was basically, this is the area where the Germans were, and a lot of Germans' influence came in because the Kiap, or the captain, and the higher up the senior officers all had those corner hats, the captain's hats, but they all had feathers in them as well, and so that they were copying lots of things that they could see. So up in the Highlands, just behind where there's other dancers, here we have an exaggeration of that type of hat that was copied from the Germans and adopted into this particular area. And these people, this is in the Tep area, way up in the back blocks where I'd stayed with the Japanese guy doing his, collecting his remains of his brothers. And we had a bit of a gathering together and brought various villages in, and you can see the similarity between the different villages. But what had happened in this area, probably about 20 years earlier, the missions had gone in and told them that they had to get rid of these hedonistic ceremonies. See, this is an extended headdress now, same but different. And they told the villagers to dig huge holes and get all of their feathers and decorations and bury them. And that was about 20 years ago, and about 3 years before I went up there, they were being encouraged to dig them up again and start again. These guys dancing, I was standing taking a video of them, and the ground was actually shaking because they were stomping in unison. You know, and they say in the military, if you're crossing a bridge, everybody breaks steps so that they don't all go across in the same step because the bridge could collapse. Same principle was happening with these dancers. But we had 3-legged races and other activities going on in that particular time as well. But there's the tapa cloth I spoke about earlier. It's on the bark of a tree and it died. And one of these guys, that bloke in the centre there, that tapa cloth, I have that at home now. But this dance with the guys here that wear these is quite incredible. It's only done at night time, so I never actually got a video of it. And I just heard about 3 years ago, for the very, very first time, they actually performed this dance in daylight hours. And what it is that they wear a harness, and they have this, like these umbrellas that are attached to this harness, and then they've got these poles that are about 20 foot tall attached to the top. That's the harness that they wear. You can see the shoulder straps, and then that umbrella is attached to the top of that, and then the pole's attached to the top of the umbrella. And it's at night time, so it's pitch black, and these guys come out from the bush having dressed up, and as they come in, they're moving their heads back and forth. And those great long poles with the feathers and everything on it are making the weirdest sound you've ever heard. And they're all different. Each one is different. But they come in and it is quite scary because you can't see anything. And this is them in the morning. They'd taken all their gear off and are having a rest before they left to go home. This particular group, this is on the Highlands again. Oh, sorry, these are Highlanders. These guys are from the plantation labourers, so they recruit labourers from the highlands, and they go down to the coast and work on the coconut plantations, mainly coconut, because there wasn't a lot of cocoa there at that time. But these guys look black, but what they've done is they've actually blacked up. They've got ash from the fire, and they've actually made themselves look blacker than normal. And their dancing is more of a parade. They don't actually move anything other than forward. And they carry big long spears and everything else. But this is the sort of dance that they do, or the march that they do. And this is just a small group in the Tari where we were, and they're mainly visitors from other areas that have come in, but that's probably 30 in that group. If you've got 800 or 900 doing exactly the same thing, you know that they're coming. When the whites first went up into, patrol officers first went up into the highlands, they got, and there's a movie being made of this, so you can verify it. They went right up into the highlands. They found a nice big flat area that was all grassed, very tall, sharp grass, about a metre tall. And when they walked in there, they had their radios with them and everything, and they radioed down to Ley, and they gave them a rough position of where they were and said, we need a food drop. So they said, okay, we'll prepare an area for a food drop. So what they did is they called all these tribes in to talk to them about, hi, here we are, we're here to administer you. And they said, what we want you to do is to have this big sing-sing or dance, but what we want you to do is to flatten about 5 football fields of grass, so that when the plane came in, it knew where to drop the stuff. But when the pilot came over, he thought, oh, that looks quite flat. I'll land here. So the plane actually landed on all this grass that had been flattened by these dancers. They'd spent 8 hours dancing or marching up and down, flattening this grass out. These are the Huli Wig men. Oops. The Huli Wig men again. And I'll tell you a lot more about their decorations a little bit later on. But as you can see, there's major differences between that. All the colouring that they have is all natural. It's from seed pods and earth. When we went up in 2007, this is the actual group that were there to meet us. And normally you only get maybe 8 to 10 dancers will be there to greet you, but this is the group here, 2007 on the picture here. They had come to meet us, but this is how they dance. They don't go around in circles, just up and down, and the senior person's at this end, the nearest the camera, and the junior one is at the other end, and they're learning. And that's simply all they do is just beat the drum and bounce up and down. But in Port Moresby, they're the ones that are called on when any dignitaries are coming in, because from a tourism perspective, the Huli Wig man with the yellow face and everything is the most common image that you'll see anywhere about for promoting Papua New Guinea. They should have patented that a long time ago, but this is to give you an idea of all they're doing is bouncing up and down on their tiptoes. But they'll do that for 5-6 hours without any hesitation. And again, when I talk about the wigs and everything, I'll tell you a little bit more about other things that they're wearing. But in this particular area, they're all from the same. It's the largest language group in the Highlands, and just these are their next door neighbours, their cousins. You see the guy over on the left there in the centre, he's got the Huli wig on. That's a day wig, that's an everyday wig. But I've shown these images to current day Huli people, young men, And they've never ever seen these people dressed like that. Now the guys are wearing grass skirts, which is totally unusual. The kundu drums that they've got are long and slender, and they come from 200 miles away, these design of these drums. Yet these men are from, the drums come from the south, through this area that the Whig men are in, to these guys who are north of them. So it's amazing the trading that goes on between them, and what they actually want is quite startling. But in the Highlands, there's a whole variety of wigs that are available. Large wigs that look like water buffalo horns. Amazing structures. And they also do other things like grab a Coca-Cola can and cut the bottom off it and put it on to make it sparkle and shine, the inside of it. So they'll decorate themselves with anything. It's like birds of paradise. It's the male birds that are the show ponies, and the females are quite dowdy. But any Australians in the audience will recognise this as the Torres Strait Island flag, and that's the headdress that the Torres Strait Islanders use. And this particular Sing Sing group are teachers from Daru, which is Australia's nearest neighbour. And you can see the headdress on the crocodile and the headdress on the men. And that is very, very reminiscent of the Torres Strait Island flag. And they don't normally use a kundu drum to beat a kundu drum. They've got a small slit gong that they beat. These ladies here are from the Chimbu, and they're all black cockatoo feathers. In Australia, the black cockatoo is an endangered species. In Papua New Guinea, it's easy to come by as far as making headdress for the Chimbu ladies. And then this is where we were in Como on Independence Day. One of those wigs was given to me as a gift at the end of Independence Day. And the guy on the left is from way down south. If you can see his drum was long and skinny, and that's the drum that's sent along. Now, they always have, at any festival, they always have the bogeyman, and that was the bogeyman spirit that they had there. This guy here. And like every culture, if you want the kids to behave themselves, you all tell them the bogeyman's going to come and get them. Well, in Papua New Guinea, they updated that, and they said, if you don't behave yourself, the key app will come take you away. So every time we went into the village, the kids went, pew. You couldn't see them for dust. It's great up here. But anyway, we'll move on to this is the Ragiana bird of paradise, which is one of the more common birds of paradise in the area that we were living in the Highlands in Como. And this is the sort of work that one of the other aspects. I used to do supervising road maintenance and construction. And that is a bird of paradise that was perched on a tree outside the hut that I was in. I quickly grabbed my camera and took note. This video footage was taken in 1973 on a Super 8 movie camera, film camera, and this tree is probably about 80 meters away from where I was. So I'm quite pleased with the condition of the results. But if you can see, there's a bird of paradise here. There's another one up in here. You can see them coming into display. So they actually fly in and they break the leaves off the trees. And there's about, in there, if you look closely enough, there's another one here, yellowhead, down here. There's about 5 birds of paradise, all displaying in that tree. And you can hear them from miles away. And they're calling out for the females to come in. There's a couple of females on the top left here coming in here. And I was absolutely blown away being able to get that footage. It might not look good here, but it looks great on the computer. But anyway, this is your best dressed hoolywig man. You can see here that he's got a whole variety of birds of paradise feathers in his head. There's a kundu drum and everything. So this bird of paradise up the top there is a ribbon-tailed bird of paradise. The yellow bird of paradise is a lesser bird of paradise, and they come from the coast. And the one down the bottom here is a superb bird of paradise. Now on the wig, I'll just show you the types of birds. So we've got sickle bill is the long black feathers, ribbon tail. King of Saxony is, if you can make them out, there are actually two feathers here, and they've got little dots in them. And then there's the yellow lesser bird of paradise, white cockatoo, sulphur cockatoo feathers here, and around the rim of the wig were the rainbow lorikeet feathers. Well, this is what the king bird of Saxony looks like when it's doing its thing, trying to attract a mate. Now, can you see anything reminiscent with that way that bird's moving on the tree and the way the hoolies are dancing? They go into the jungle, obviously, to try and catch these birds, and they observe them and they try and repeat what the bird's doing. Now, this guy bounces up and down, and when he wants to really show off to the girl, the two feathers that are coming out the back of the skull just flip up. You'll just see that in a second. He's showing off. Hello, honey, here I am. Look at me. Aren't I great? And she's up the branch there saying, nah, you don't quite turn me on. I'll go and find somebody else. But they've actually worked, the male has worked on this particular piece of vine. He's taken all the feathers away so that there's plenty of room to move and plenty of open space for not one female to look at him dance, but many up in the trees around. Now, you have a different situation with the ribbon-tailed birds of paradise. They have to pick two trees to show off. So he's up there on the tree, this is the female, she's down feeding and trying to get bugs out from behind the bark. And the male's there and he's singing away, saying, hey, look at me, look at me. He takes off and he flies across a clearing to his next tree, and he'll land there, having given plenty of time for her to have a good look, and then he'll sing and make noise again and say to the girl, hey, I'm still here, and then he'll fly back again to the one that he just came from. So he actually displays open air there. Now the sickle bill is a different bird again. That's the long black feathers that you saw. Now you've got to remember that these feathers are not parts of the wings. They're all appendages that are grown on. This thing that he's flapping up and down is a ruffle. It's not his wings. His wings are down below. And he has to find a tree that's broken in the clearing. So I've actually got to spend a lot of time looking for their display grounds. And that's what he ends up doing. Now he's actually standing on the top of that, bouncing up and down. Now the yellow that you can see there is actually inside his mouth. So that's the way the sickle bill displays. And then down on the coast, these are the lesser bird of paradise. There's lots and lots of these, and they just bounce around all over the place. That's a female there, getting the choice of all the boys, and she's not too happy. Oh, I'll come back again and have another look. And so the boys get in there, and their display is all very similar, so she gets to choose which of these males that she really fancies. But again, back up in the highlands, the superb bird of paradise, as you can see, this is the guy that's holding this bird, it's obviously dead, is my interpreter. That's the uniform that an interpreter wears. And he'd bought the bird that as the patrol went through, this is where we burnt the house down. the guy came out and said, look, I've got the bird. So you can see he's pushing the wings out to show you where the wings are. But that iridescent blue is like a bow tie on the front of the bird. And at the back there is like a ruffle that comes up the back behind the head. Now, it's, you know, they're not part of a normal bird's anatomy. They've all developed over thousands and hundreds of thousands of years for this particular bird. Now, this little fella has got a very interesting dance. This is R-rated, by the way, folks, so close your eyes at the end. So he's out there and he's singing his song, fluffs up his bow tie at the front and his ruffle at the back, and he has to find a log, and he clears the log, makes sure there's nothing on it so the female can come in and walk up and down and watch him dancing. Now again, see the bouncing up and down? Very, very similar to the way the hoolies dance. And he's got two little iridescent, they're not his eyes, but they're iridescent feathers at the back there that pop up. And she's decided to hang around and says, oh yeah, I fancy you. I think you might do the trick. How's it going, honey? Terrific. Bob's your uncle. Next generation, here we come. But on that wig, this is another creature, the sugar glider. They've got these in Australia, but they've got quite a few in Papua New Guinea. And these little creatures live in hollows, and they'll leap from one tree to the next, and they've got a flap of skin between their forearms and hind legs, and they throw their arms and legs out, and they actually fly and glide, quite maneuverable between trees. I'm not going to show you them doing that. I'm going to show you what they do with them when they get them. This is them. This is the sugar glider here, if you're on the left-hand image here. On the back of the wig, the top of the wig, it's the thing that holds everything together. There's a sugar glider tail there on this guy on the right. And that is what all of the feathers and other decorations on the wig are attached to. So that's the centerpiece of the wig. On the top right here, we've got that's a Kokomo bill and pig's teeth. And those pig's teeth, because pig's teeth are really, really valuable, what they've actually done is they've got 3 pig's teeth and split them in half so they can make that decoration, so that it's the same tooth on either side. The dagger that's sticking out of the belt there in the center picture, that's made from a cassowary femur, and there are the lorikeet feathers, hundreds of little lorikeet feathers around the rim of the wig. And this is Hogogo again, showing off, as I show the superb bird of paradise, the iridescent blue bow tie on the forehead there, and up behind it is the ruffle that comes out from behind this bird. Through his nose, Australians will know a sulphur-crested cockatoo, the yellow feathers that come up. A lot of Brits will have seen them, but they didn't realise that when they take them off, they make good nasal decoration. On here also, you'll see on either side of his head, there's little white fluffy things. They've got possums or cuscus in this particular area, and they've got a lot of pure white ones. And those white fluffy bits on either side of his head there are a white possum scrotum. I didn't design it, they did. But that's the way that they handle that. But this is a cassowary, very, very dangerous bird. You don't want to bump into one of these in the dark. But if you look where the wings used to be, and you can just see them here, this is where the young wings were, and those are actually turned into this. They're bent round. They're very, very strong quills, and they're actually bent round, and because they're thicker at one end and thin at the other, and they're hollow, when they put them round, they can actually push them in and they stay fast. And but what these guys have done is they've got the odd, on here he's used a nut that he's found from the garage somewhere, and he's actually screwed it down so that he could hold it together. And in a lot of places where they do that copper wire that the Sangoma man used to kill the bloke, well, they actually use that. The more wealthy you are, you use proper quills. The less wealthy you are, you use anything you can. But around the neck also is this another white cowrie shell, and it takes forever to make these things. So you can see that no television, no radio, no internet. They spend all their time building and working, and they're making decorations. They're very, very, very dexterous. Their fingers are incredible. And this is a Kokomo. So the top part of the bill there is the bit that's hanging down from the back. And obviously, the longer and everything else, the more significant the person is. Now, because they don't wear trousers in this particular area, they've got a piece of woven handmade material that they put at the front, and some other decorations I'll talk to you about a little later on. And they wear a belt. I was given the whole outfit. With the wig, I was given the whole outfit. And they said, this belt should fit you. This is about your size. And women, when you're putting on a girdle, it's okay. But when you're putting on one of those belts, they're about half an inch too small. And you've got to step in and pull them up over your buttocks. And if you don't take off a whole pile of flesh when you're putting this belt on, you're not getting it on properly. It really, really hurts. But this belt is designed not to fall off, and this is what they put in the back of the belt. This is what's commonly known as arse grass. These are leaves from croton trees, bushes, and when we lived in Sidor, we had a fence around our house, not a fence, but a garden barrier hedge, and it was made up of all these crotons. And we'd be sitting there having breakfast in the morning, and as we saw this hedge would vibrate in the morning. We thought, what on earth's going on out there? And sure enough, at the end of the fence, the guy would step out, putting his brand new trousers on and throwing his used ones away. And this is what they would do there. But so these are the Huli wigmen, and you can see that they're all from the same area, but you can see the difference in designs of the wigs. The guy on the far right hand end has got a similar shaped wig to the guy 4 in. So they're from they're probably cousins from really close by. But they are all daytime wigs. They're not ceremonial wigs. That's their normal wigs that they wear. And when I do the rites of passage presentation, I'll talk a little bit more about how these wigs come about and what the significance of them through the initiation aspect of it. But when we made the presentation early on and we showed you the Can We Help program, and I mean, people have asked us about where did that sea container go and everything else. And I mentioned that we've actually sent more equipment up to Papua New Guinea, up to this place. This is the Hope Institute that the guy bought for $1 when I was asked to go up and open it. And these are all 2-roomed or 2-bedroomed dongas. They're all air-conditioned, wired, electricity and everything else. And on the right-hand side is the health clinic, and on the left-hand side and at the bottom are the classrooms for the kids. So there's going to be 800 kids in here. On the left corner there you can see the yellow dongas. They're the teachers' accommodation. But this is just about ready to go up. There are 2 containers that have just arrived in Tari, full of this sort of gear. There's one of the containers got 7 dental chairs. There's a guy setting up a whole pile of dental clinics. So dentists in Australia have donated their disused dental chairs to him. So they've gone up. There's autoclaves, there's dental equipment. So one of the containers is actually going to set up probably 7 or 8 dental clinics in the Highlands, which they don't have. And there's a whole pile of computers in those as well. In this container, you can see some tall boxes over the back there. They're more computers. And we mentioned about the Prime Minister's wife coming down to visit. Well, I took her down to see the containers being loaded. Those boxes on the left-hand side, they're birthing kits. The ladies in Australia put together birthing kits of a plastic sheet, a razor blade, some string for tying the umbilical, sanitary items, soap, and a whole pile of other bits and pieces that they use for the actual birth of the child. And these are handed out to the midwives and the 8 post orderlies so that they've actually got something sterilised and clinical for helping with the birth of a child, because most child deaths are caused through infection. On the right hand side here, one school in the far north of Queensland, they were changing over all of their library books. So in that container there's probably about 3 tons of library books that are going to go up. University that we deal with, all these computers, they're standalone computers. Then the left, bottom left, and on the bottom right, they're the all-in-one computers, the big Dell all-in-one computers. And there's a whole bunch of network cabling and keyboards and mice and other bits and pieces in there. So we're continuing to send stuff up to Papua New Guinea. There's 2 more containers all but ready to go. So that's just to bring you up to speed with that area there. Please join me. I don't know when it's going to be on. We're in the hands of Nick as to when presentation is going to be on. But this particular presentation, I heard that there was a lady from California on the ship, and I know that there's a couple of other ladies from North America. If you know any North Americans, this will be very, very poignant for them. But otherwise, please come along and have a listen to this one, because you're not going to believe the 6 degrees of separation. I've met somebody in the audience at another function that actually knew my father. Well, we believe he knew my father. So it's quite incredible who you meet and what you see. But this is just amazing. So please come along and have a listen to this when it's advertised. Thanks very much indeed.